From Tally to Cali,
It's time
to wake up.
Wake up! Wake up!
Warchant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up Warchant, presented by Corner Pocket Bar and Grill.
One more corner pocket.
Now here's Warchant.com's Aslan Hutchavandi.
And Corey Clark.
Wake up! What is up, everybody? It is Wake Up Warchant, presented by Corner Pocket Bar and Grill. Coming up on today's show, final spring practice thoughts. Noles nabbing an elite prospect from Georgia, and the transfer portal has opened, and a player has left. Wake Up Warchant, presented by the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill, Tallahassee, Florida, 2475 Appalachia Parkway. You know that. CPTallybar.com is the website. You can always hit that QR code on your screen. It'll take you right to the website, but I'll let you know what's going on today. It's Tuesday, so it's Taco Tuesday. All day, though, the lunch special. Not just that 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. window, Corey, but all day. Hard or soft shell, beef or chicken tacos. Check it out, Corner Pocket Bar and Grill. And then later on, trivia at 7 p.m. it starts. Come on in, enjoy some food and drink specials while you play some trivia. Win some money over at the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill. We're also presented by our good friends over at Vitamin Energy, vitaminenergy.com. Promo code WarChampBOGO, B-O-G-O, buy one, get one free. Try it out. Shake it and take it. You'll like it. There's vitamins. There's energy. That's why it's called Vitamin Energy. Again, we're on the Focus bandwagon right now. Multiple minerals in this thing to get you going. Brain vitamins, Corey, some people might call it. Leucine, theanine, coenzyme Q10, all the good stuff. Gets you feeling sharp and dialed in. The mango flavor, nice. Pleasant on the palate. Energized for up to 7 hours or more. Tastes great. It's packed with vitamins. Vitamin Energy Focus Plus. All sorts of different flavors and varieties over at vitaminenergy.com. That promo code WarChampBOGO, B-O-G-O. Buy one, get one free of equal or lesser value. Try it out. We're pretty confident you'll like it. Just like WarChant.com you like. Thumbs up, 5-star rating and review. $29.99 for now, all the way up until September 1st, premium access. Give some shout-outs before we start, Corey. Let me, first real quick, LaTerrence, I think your name was. We bumped into one another before walking into Doak. You probably didn't hear me shout you on the show yesterday, so you stopped listening to us, which I understand. But if somebody can get the message to LaTerrence, was with his lady and 2 children, pleasant young man, pleasant gentleman, Corey. I forgot to shout him out. But we had a lot of big family was out at practice on Monday, Corey. Big fans, too, apparently.
Yeah, it was the branches, I think. I don't like to look at people's last names that much, but when you have, there were, what would you say, Aslan, 12 of them out there with the kids? A lot of branches. A lot of branches on that tree. Pun actually was intended there. I'd actually met them, not the kids, but the
patriarch.
The patriarch, and I don't know, they are related brother-in-law, mate. Well, that can't be right if they'd have the same last. Anyway, you guys know I love you. I'd met them at Corner Pocket a few days before the spring game, and he's the one that purchased the hoodie.
Yes.
The game-worn hoodie. And Norvell, they showed me, Norvell signed it. It was a really nice message. He got to hang out with them, take a picture with them. Norvell matched what he bought it for, and he got to come watch that practice on Monday. Came back from Myrtle Beach to watch the practice on Monday. So that was really cool for them and the family. And they also got to meet Micah Pittman, too, among many others, I'm sure.
Yeah. And I think his wife was with them, so the wife didn't leave him. I think there was maybe some potential friction for going hard in the paint on winning this hoodie.
Right. Yeah.
But she stuck around. Good woman. So shout out to the branches. They said they were going to listen. So there you go. You don't have to listen anymore. You were at practice. You saw everything.
Right.
How was practice, Corey? That was.
I
guess thankful. I don't want to say thankfully. We appreciate you, Mike. But I guess that's what Sundays usually probably look like during the season, which we don't get to see. I would think. They do their walkthrough, I guess, kind of post game.
Yeah, I guess so. I think maybe it was a little more. I probably went a little longer than what I would guess they would do on those Sundays. But yeah, there was no hitting. They were in shorts. It was walkthrough-ish.
Hey, your boy Rodney Hill finally got a green jersey.
How about that? That's what it took. The last day of spring, Rodney. And it didn't even look right on him. It wasn't even the same shade of green, legitimately, as what the other guys were wearing. It's a different shade because they don't have a green jersey for him. So yeah, he finally got to wear one. And but yeah, it was no real team stuff. There was a little bit of 7-on-7, but it seemed like it was even like 70% speed. And then, that was probably a period and maybe 2 periods with just Jordan and Tate taking reps in 7-on-7. And then after that, that was it. There was nothing else done. I do think Hakeem Williams caught like a 30-yard pass in 11 or 7-on-7 from Tate Rodemaker, so that was good to see. Something to build on going into the summer. But it was a very low key practice, and they finished it up with like maybe 3 or 4 periods of special teams and then some scout team work as they go into the rest of April and into May.
Big bad Braden Fisk. I can confirm, some of the footage that I got of the defensive line practicing early on included him. He did not have a green jersey on. That's probably the first time we've seen him all spring without it on. He was going with through the drills with the defensive line. But again, it wasn't contact sort of stuff. This was, going under the chute or whatever they call it, and footwork kind of stuff. So that was good to see. We also got to speak to several defensive assistant coaches afterwards. Who did you link up with after practice, Corey?
I linked up with our man Patrick Surtain,
okay.
the newest member of the Florida State staff, and
you asked about our guy. You asked about our guy, 37.
No, man, no.
Corey.
I know. I couldn't believe it when he walked away. I'm like, oh no, that's right. C-Dub, I love you though. Yeah. Christian White, number 37. I really did want to ask about him because he had another breakup in 7-on-7 today. There weren't many, but 37 had one. Because it's just what he does, nose for the ball. So no, he talked about, I kind of asked him because I asked him if Renardo Green had as good a spring as it looked like he had from our vantage point, and he said absolutely. He said he's trying to take his game to the next level. He was already a good football player, but he's trying to get even better at everything. So field, classroom, meeting room, and he said he's overall just becoming a even better player. I think we all agree Renardo's got one side locked down. That other side, probably Cypress, I guess, but nothing we saw this spring would just secure him that job. And so he mentioned all the other cornerbacks that are in play, including Jarian Jones and Greedy Vance and everybody, and Azareye'h Thomas. And so I did ask him about Azareye'h, like what do you need to see from him? Like what does he need to get better at? And look, he's talked in a lot of coach speak, where it was basically, look, they're all getting better. They're all good, really good football players. They got a chance to shine and produce and contribute. But I did want like something. What does Azareye'h have to get better about? And there are two things that stuck out because we all want Azareye'h to be really good, and we do think he's got the potential to be. And he's being coached by a guy that was awesome. He needs to get stronger. And he needs to maybe not, and this was what Surtain said, he needs to not get down on himself so much when he has a bad play. Just flush it and move on. Those are the two things that he thinks Azareye'h still got to work on. But he also mentioned, because I forgot to mention Jarian Jones or J-Dub, and he mentioned them because I was like Greedy Vance, Azareye'h, Fentrell, and he's like, well, don't forget Jarian. He had a really good spring too. So yeah, Jarian's out there as well to go along with our man Quindarius, who he said he likes him. He has a lot of moxie for a true freshman, much like Brock Glenn on the other side.
What about safeties? Did he talk about any of the safeties?
He did. He said that, he said that Travis Jay looked good before he got injured.
Okay, so we got that. All right.
That is on record. Yep. Right. Patrick Surtain did say that Travis Jay was having a good spring until he got injured, so he's coming back from injury. He did say that Duke Cooper, he said, and Adam Fuller said this a lot, it's not something we give Duke Cooper enough credit for because all we really care about, honestly, it's what we do is the play on the field. But Adam Fuller has talked about how coachable Amarian Cooper is. And Patrick Surtain said that immediately about him. He's a really coachable kid. He's a really good football player. And he really appreciates the fact that he didn't argue. He didn't get upset. When he was asked to change positions, he just went there willingly, and he thinks he's going to play and play a lot, which he'll have to, right? I mean, we don't even know the extent of Travis Jay's injury. We don't know how long he's going to be out. But even if he isn't out for very long, you can't count on Travis Jay. No. And I'm not saying he can't come back and have a great rest of his career. I'm just saying it's been 4 or 5 years now. Like it's hard to imagine just penciling him into a depth chart. So right now you have, again, like we've talked about, Shaheem Brown and Akeem Dent are your starters. You have a converted cornerback who's never played a college game at safety. And then Travis Jay, who I don't feel like has played a game in, I don't know, since Jimbo's third year. I mean, it just seems like it's been forever since he's played a college football game. And then freshmen. You got 3 freshmen coming in, but they're all, well, one's already here, It had a good camp, by the way, but in Kirkland. But then the other two aren't even here yet, and that's your safety pool right now. So again, the portal is wide open. Florida State lost a guy on Monday that we'll talk about here soon, but yeah, I just think the portal's got to be somewhere where they go.
Last game Travis Jay played in was Miami 2021.
The one in Coral Gables?
I'm sorry, 22. The fourth and 14. No, yeah, 21. Fourth and 14.
Okay,
fourth and 14. That was the last game he played in. He didn't play in any games last year, per PFF.
Okay, yep.
So
yep.
that has been a long while. Yeah, that number, I wonder if that also applies to safety, what they have at defensive end. I was speaking to John Papuchis.
I was there for a little bit of that.
Yeah. And he was asked about, I think you were asking about where do you want to be? Do you want to be, you want 4 guys? And he's like, well, actually, kind of want 5 because, somebody's likely going to go down. So you need that 5th guy to continue to have a bit of a 2 deep. So they're not close to 5. I don't know if they're any closer to 5 or further away from 5 than the safeties. What do you think, Corey? He had good things to say about Byron Turner, but Byron Turner, this is the first time since he's been on campus where he's been healthy enough to go through an entire, whether it's preseason, spring, or in-season kind of camp. So good start, but obviously he needs he's got some stuff to work on. And I don't know where Gilbert Edmond really is. He said that, Gilbert, it was kind of getting his feet under him. He was playing a little bit more confidence, a little bit more speed. But you really you feel good about Jared Verse. You feel much better about Jared Verse and Patrick Payne than you do the number 1 safeties. But then I don't know how you feel about Cooper and Travis Jay versus, I guess, right now Gilbert Edmond and, who's the number 4 defensive end, would you say?
Byron Turner,
so.
Yeah, no, I asked that specifically. It was phrased and it was framed in a way that I got kind of the answer that I wanted because yes, right now they have 3 guys that you can count on. And that's how I framed it. It's like, okay, you know what you got in Verse and Payton. They're very good. One could be a first-round pick. And Edmonds played a bunch of football. But after that, there's not a lot that you can – there's not a lot of surefire. Where do you want to be? Obviously you want 4, but what's the number? What's the ideal number going into August of guys that you can count on at that position? And Papuchis, without hesitation, said 5. Well, they don't have 5 right now.
Nope.
But guess what exists in the world of college football, Aslan?
Free agency.
That's right. And they got 2 weeks left. They got 13 days left to go find something. Now, again, you don't just take to take. No offense to my man. He came here. He'll always be a Nole. You don't just go get a Marcus Cushney because he's out there. You've got to make sure it's somebody that can contribute and be a second, at least a second teamer. Maybe he's going to be a star. You don't know, but get somebody in there that can give Jared Verse and Patrick Payton if they're hopefully healthy, rest, and you don't lose a ton. You just have to. You've got to find. You've got 2 really good ones, and you've got. The way Payton has played, especially at the end of the spring, in my opinion, I do think he's ready to take another step, and I do think he's about to be unleashed. So I do think you have 2 very good defensive ends. You might have the best set of starting defensive ends in the conference, maybe close to the country. You will be up in that conversation if Patrick Payton turns into what we think he can become. But after that, man, it is a lot of question mark. It is a significant drop-off. Yeah. Gilbert Edmond is not horrible. He is a solid, serviceable college football player, but nothing we saw in the spring makes you think he's going to take a leap and become a 14-sack guy or lead the world in pressures. He's a nice role player. Byron Turner maybe takes a leap, maybe, but you're trying to win championships this year, and you need, in my opinion, something a little better than a maybe. Absolutely. You need somebody is going to come in and play, like a Darrell Jackson or a Braden Fisk. You need one of those guys at defensive end. Yeah. So, and they're going to be out there. I assume they're going to be out there here in the next couple of weeks as the portal stays open till April 30th.
Some other things from John Papuchis I thought was interesting. He did say that he liked what he saw from the kickers. They'll probably break off and go to their own personal sort of trainers, which is something he advocates and is cool with because they're more comfortable sometimes with these personal private kicking coaches they have. I used the word resilient to describe how he thought Ryan Fitzgerald and Tyler Keltner were. He said that they each individually only had one bad day, but then the next practice, and they're on different days, but after they each had their sort of rough day, they bounced back and had one of their stronger days of practice this spring. So he likes where they're at there. No sort of decision has been made on that. They are hopeful, obviously, to have Micah back. They're hopeful to have Jaden Jones good to go once they. I asked him, when you return to the practice field, are you expecting to have him ready, or are you hoping? He's we expect as long as he doesn't have any setbacks in his, his rehab. He thinks he's a guy that can compete for one of those 5 spots because of his athleticism. Yeah. But does say that, the physical portion of things, just the step up in competition is going to have to be kind of a touch and feel thing because he is coming from playing in a JUCO and he was out, I think, most of all last year with that injury. Then on the punt return, he does like what Winston Wright gives them, a little bit of flexibility. He says that he's seen explosiveness out of Winston. And then I asked him about Vandrevius returning punts and whether that was that always the plan? Was it after a few weeks of practice of watching him, with the ball in his hand on offense? Maybe, hey, I can use you. And he says a little bit of both. Does say that he's got kind of like elite skills, and once he gets comfortable catching the ball, he thinks that he can be a real threat for them. So that's something that we really haven't seen unleashed. We saw him kind of towards the back half of practice. Maybe when they got back from spring break, Corey, was when we saw Vandrevius Jacobs working a little bit more, returning and catching punts. But yeah, if he can get confident catching it, I don't know how much of it's like being confident to catch it and then know that you've got the room to return it. Or I think right now they're just like, hey man, just feel good catching the ball and progress from there, because I do think he's a guy that probably gives you there's a little bit more ceiling with him than Micah. But again, Micah's just so darn consistent that I won't take that for granted. So.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I think this catching the ball is the predominant skill. Yeah. And Micah is really, he really is. He's blessed with his ability to always look comfortable catching those balls. And it's a big deal. When you have a team that's this good, with an offense this good, just catching the ball and running forward 10 yards is a really big deal. So you just hope that Pittman's back. But yeah, I certainly would expect Winston Wright. If Micah Pittman isn't ready for LSU, my guess would be they're not running Vandrevius Jacobs out there for that first punt return. I think it's going to be Winston Wright because he's done it a lot in his life.
Yeah, hopefully they see what LSU did last year with Malik Neighbors. Because that was his first time returning punts. Yeah. Didn't work out good for the guys in purple.
Well, it kind of did because Florida State didn't score a point after either one of those buffs. So what are you going to do?
And then on Jared Verse, he still is a good football player. Papuchis confirmed that for us.
Good.
And then he did say that, when you got a guy that's coming back, the fact that they have the option to go, they're obviously really talented. So it's kind of hard to get them to improve on that, especially because I think the last mock that came out before Jared announced that, and again, Corey's been on the record about he doesn't care about mocks in December, which is, maybe one of these slower days that we have here now that spring's over. Maybe I'll go back and look at some of these first mocks from December and see where we're at now, a week or so away from NFL draft. But I think the highest he got to was 25th on not Kuiper, but McShay's big board. So you got a guy that was that coveted coming back, and he said how hard it is to kind of figure out a way to get better. Jermaine was a guy that came in and was an alpha immediately, versus a guy that came in and kind of took it by the horns and, spoke up and was loud is I think the word that Papuchis used. But the fact that he's returned this season for spring, he hasn't seen any let up. He continues to work harder. He's a guy that, if he was from West Virginia, he might have said, he's a guy that I have to say, whoa, rather than giddy up. But I think he said something about it. He's a guy that, I'm finding myself having to say, slow down rather than push them. So if you're listening, John, you can always use the giddy up analogy. So that's your John Papuchis breakdown. It's 12 minutes of it. Everything else is pretty digestible. I think it was about 4 minutes with Randy Shannon and 4 minutes with Odell. So go check those interviews out over on our YouTube page. Major League Baseball in full swing, as well as the NBA playoffs. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere at mybookie.ag. You can also bet on things in the future, like the NCAA National Championship in football. Your Noles 21-1. It's going to keep putting it out there, everybody. Not the hoops head over here, but looking over at mybookie.ag, I don't know what the Hawks are going to do against the Seas. Feels like that's pretty futile. Boston favored by 10. Go ahead, give out the points. And I'm not going to pick the Lakers. I don't want to jinx them too much. I think the Nuggets will also take care of the Timberwolves. That's a big number, 8.5, but go ahead and give it on out. Maybe pair them together. Maybe spread them out and do what you wish. You can do anything. You can bet anything, anytime, anywhere at MyBookie, as we said. You can also go to their live casino. Use the promo code WARCHANT, though. That will give you an instant cash deposit bonus. So you can put $200 in your account. You'll have $300 ready to play with instantly using the promo code WARCHANT. So if you're a baseball fan, hoops fan, looking to add even more excitement to the postseason or the new season, look no further than MyBookie. Sign up now and get ready to experience the thrill of betting like never before. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere over at mybookie.ag. Promo code WARCHANT. All right, Corey, you mentioned it earlier in the show. The transfer portal is open. It's been open for 72 hours now as you're listening to this, everybody. 96 hours? I don't know, somewhere around there. Brendan Gant, a guy that we had seen move from safety to linebacker, was kind of getting some run there in the first part of spring practice, but then we didn't see him present nor accounted for. And then before practice started on Monday, news of him entering the transfer portal. Wish the best of the kid. I don't have any ill will or anything like that. I haven't seen any of the kind of the comments on the thread, but I mean, he was in the mix there. I mean, he wasn't running with, he wasn't at Deloach, Bethune levels. But, man, he was a guy I thought that was kind of in the same pod, if you will, of like an Omar Graham or DeMarco Ward. And had he finished the string out here and had another week of good practice under him, you probably would have felt pretty good about him being, like, part of your five deep. If we're talking about pairs, right? Pairs of defensive ends, pairs of safeties, pairs of linebackers. You like what you have with Deloach and Bethune. Lundy gives you something there. Omar Graham might be the fourth guy, and then Gant would have been possibly your fifth, fourth, kind of in there. But now you don't have him. I don't know if this underscores any sort of need at linebacker for you. I think it does because he was a capable body. Probably not. He was adequate, I felt like. Thoughts on him leaving? Does it change your opinion on what they have to do possibly in free agency transfer portal to shore up that position, Corey?
No, I mean, I think I'm in the same boat I was before he left. I think that's something they should explore. If there's somebody out there that can fit in and play and has experience, then yes, absolutely. Maybe somebody that you get a couple years out of, like you got out of Tatum, because you got some older guys that will be circulating out of here. So go try to get somebody that can play. And then, Brendan Gant was going to be, a second stringer at best. But, there were times, and it is a shot at him. I'm not trying to take a shot at him, but I remember you in the spring game, we were in the press box. You're like, where's Brendan Gant? He goes, and you said something like, I haven't noticed him out there lately. Yeah. And I hadn't noticed that I hadn't noticed him, which is a sign of where Brendan Gant kind of stacked in the thought process and on the depth chart, quite frankly. Like, there are obviously plenty of numbers that if you don't see him on the field, you're like, where's he? 28, you just didn't do that. And he had some nice moments for you last year. He was a team player. He did switch positions, it seems like multiple times, and helped out a thin linebacking core and played hard, I thought. He just, he's not really a part of the plans. He's going to be at best the second teamer, but to me, it's kind of like the defense. It's in between the safeties and the defensive ends. Like, I like your two starting linebackers are more of a sure thing than your two starting safeties.
Agreed.
But not nearly as sure a thing as your two starting defensive ends.
Yes.
It's right there in the middle. Like, look, Bethune and Deloach are good. They're fine. They're good college players. They're not superstars. I think you might have superstars at defensive end. But who is your third linebacker? It's DJ
Graham right now.
or DJ Lundy.
Yeah, Lundy. Yeah.
But Lundy and Graham, that's just not the depth I kind of want right now. I think Omar Graham has a chance to be pretty good. I don't know that he's there yet. I don't know if Tatum Bethune sprains an ankle in the first quarter against LSU and Deloach gets a stinger. I don't know that you're going to want to look out there and see Lundy and Omar Graham as your two starting linebackers. So you want to have a few more options, and I know Blake Nicholson's coming, and we have liked what we've seen from DeMarco Ward. You just can't count on true freshmen at that position. Marvin Jones is once in a lifetime to be that good as a true freshman. You're not probably going to get something like that, especially one now in this day and age that doesn't get here till August. So Blake Nicholson to me is a depth piece. He's not going to play a lot of meaningful snaps. Neither is DeMarco Ward. I don't know that the two backups need to be playing a lot of snaps. I don't think Steven Dix needs to be playing a lot of important snaps. So, but I would have said the same thing if Brendan Gant was there. Like, hey guys, linebackers all good. Brendan Gant's still here. That was never a thought. So my point being, I don't think it changes anything. You need to go into the portal and get yourself somebody better than Brendan Gant at linebacker, in my opinion. And I'm not trying to be rude. I don't think that'll be hard to do. Go get you somebody that's better than Brendan Gant in the portal. Then you've upgraded. You've at least upgraded your depth. And you hopefully have a guy, because Brendan Gant's played, I don't know, man, 100 snaps at linebacker?
Played 176 last year.
And they're all at linebacker, right?
Yeah.
And that was it, right? So that was 15 snaps a game. There are guys out there that have 176 tackles in the last 2 seasons that you could go get, probably. Yeah. So try to make that happen if you can.
He graded out at 69.6 last season. So.
I'm telling you, I thought he was pretty solid.
He was, yeah.
For what they were wanting him to do, yeah.
Yeah, again, just wish, I thought he was doing all right in spring until, he stopped coming out to practice for whatever reason. Again, that was time that he missed that you felt like if he would have been out there and kept growing, then again, you feel good about him maybe being part of your best 5, and then perhaps you find someone in the portal that's, better than Omar Graham. Because I think Brendan Gant was probably maybe slightly better than Omar Graham, although I guess maybe the depth chart didn't flesh it out that way, and that's why he is in the portal. We'll be talking about this, I'm sure, throughout the offseason here, Corey, but now that you've seen spring and, I don't know how much of what we assess this team beforehand and where we're at now has really changed. And I guess let's be a little bit ignorant to the numbers. I think they still have to shed some guys, which I think will happen because they seem a bit overpopulated offensive line. There's a chance maybe you lose a tight end or some pass catcher might be on their way out. So I feel like they'll work out the numbers that way, but they still are going to keep their pulse on the portal. I mean, you want to give me, we'll probably be asked this on the Renegade Express, which the thread will be up here probably later on Tuesday as you're listening to this, and we'll knock it out in a 2-parter towards the end of the week. You want to rank where they got to go in the portal, or you want to go position by position kind of, because we feel good about running back. I don't think they're not going to have to go there, right?
Correct, yeah.
Quarterback, they're good there.
Yep.
I mean, receiver, if anything on the offensive side of the ball, that's probably where they would pick somebody up. They're not going to pick they don't need another offensive lineman, I wouldn't think, and I don't think they need another tight end.
No. Yeah, receiver is the only position I would even look at on offense in the portal, and I think that's a strong maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, that is not an automatic. It just isn't. You've got some guys that are developing. I'm not joking. I don't know what to expect of Destin Hill if and when he proves he exists. But he will be 21 years old, right?
Yeah.
Theoretically, we hope he's been keeping himself in shape. He will be a grown man. Maybe he adds something. Maybe Tom Rinaldi's doing a pregame story on the great the Destin Hill transformation and how he's taken over college football after disappearing for 2 years. But he's obviously the wildest of wild cards. But then Vandrevius Jacobs, Kentron, Winston Wright, Micah Pittman. The problem is you've got Darian Williamson. It's not an injury bug necessarily, but us not being privy to what all these timetables are with these injuries and when they might be expected back, you do wonder when will Winston Wright be full go?
Yeah.
When will Darian Williamson be full go? Like you still deal that means a lot. That matters a lot when you're talking about looking in the portal. If by June 1st both those guys are set and good, and Micah Pittman's progressing well, and you feel very, very confident by the middle of August he'll be good to go, then I think then it becomes a unlikely that you go into the portal. But if you're not getting great prognoses on those injuries, I don't know what the plural of prognosis is. Prognoses?
Yeah, that sounds right.
Prognoses. Then you might go look into the portal for somebody. And again, like I said, if there's somebody special out there that wants to come to Florida State, you're not going to say no because you've got Kentron Portier and Darian Williamson. You're going to go get them. It's got to be somebody special, though, because as we're about to talk about, you got bigger needs.
Yeah, I'm trying to find when the window opens back up for because there's 2 windows, right? Or is there one during the summer as well? I need to find that out as I ask this
I think
question.
this is it, man. I think this is it until December, I think.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So,
Yeah.
like, it's like speak now or forever hold your peace. All right, so on defense, interior-wise, they're pretty set.
Yep.
Defensive end, I'd be shocked if they don't add somebody. We
Yeah.
haven't mentioned Dante Anderson. He was asked about, and
Oh, right. Yeah.
Papuchis said that he thinks he's grown, quite a bit here. He's had a pretty good camp, but again, he hasn't really been going up against Jordan Travis, if you will. So it's kind of another level he's got to go. But right, defensive, they're not going to add somebody just to add somebody. But listen, just the way it works, man. Listen, that Bear Alexander guy, defensive tackle for Georgia, had 2 sacks in the national title game. He entered the portal.
Yeah.
There's going to be somebody that's not happy somewhere that plays defensive end that's produced, and what they've done with NIL here and leveraging that to get transfers, I'd have a hard time thinking they're going to sit it out and not go after somebody. Maybe even somebody that is at Missouri that was decent. I don't know. Would you go after another Gilbert Edmond type, or is that no?
I mean, again, have we addressed safety and linebacker first?
Okay, so all right, so those are
you know what I mean?
Those are on your needs. You think a little bit above defensive end.
I think safety is. I don't know about linebacker. I think safety is just because, like I illuminated, like Travis J. Who knows?
Right.
Amarian Cooper, converted cornerback. Akeem Dent is what he is. Shaheem Brown is this pile of potential that still has not reached it yet, nor should he have. He's only been here for 2 years, only been really playing for 1. But you don't know what you have in him for sure. If there's a surefire starter type safety out there that can either, number one, challenge those guys for starting reps, or at worst be a really big depth piece, I think that's where you go first. Because, again, I'll use the same example. Shaheem Brown twists his ankle. Akeem Dent gets a stinger. Your 2 safeties against LSU are Travis J. and Amarian Cooper? That's asking a lot for guys that have not done it. So you just want – and look, you could do this you could do that example, that what I just did, that hypothetical, and you could drive yourself crazy. You can't coach like that. If we got an ankle and a shoulder, what are we going to do now? You can't. That'll drive you mad, and you're going to want to get 5 players at every position. But I just think because you're so good at other positions, safety's the one that's always been a bit of a question mark. I think that by far, well, I shouldn't say by far. I would say, yeah, I would say I would take that over defensive end right now. But yeah, I would take that because your other 3 guys are true freshmen. Yeah. So I think safety is your biggest concern for depth pieces right now. Plus, you might go get yourself a good starter, perhaps. You're not going to go find, I don't think, a great defensive end in the portal that can start for you, because you already got 2. I don't know if they're going to want to come and play with Patrick Payton and Jared Verse.
Right.
I could be wrong.
60 days every year players have to transfer. So there's the one that starts after the championship weekend in December, and then there's the one that goes on now. So one of the stories that came out last year actually said May 1st to 15th, so maybe that's where Chip Kelly got it from. But this window has been open since, the 15th, this past Saturday, and it goes till the 30th. So it's 15 days, and then the 45 days was back in December. So there's 60 days each year that these players can enter the portal. But it closes. That's it for this season. So, but I agree with you, Corey. Probably also just because of the way that the game is played right now, where linebackers – if you lose both Deloach and Bethune, you just have to kind of, charge to the game to a little certain degree. But when it comes to safety, man, you want to be able to have somebody back there. You have to have somebody able to step in, because you need some strong back-end defense with what you're going to be going through this year.
And can I be honest that we just watched 14 practices. Well, sorry, we watched 12 practices in a spring game. Mm-hmm. I was never overly impressed with the safety play.
Fair. Yeah.
So that might have something to do with me thinking that's the number one priority, is going and get a safety, because they didn't make a lot of impactful game-changing plays. They had plenty of opportunities. They weren't horrible, didn't give up a lot of touchdowns, but they didn't go make a lot of plays either. So, that's where I would look first, then probably defensive end, then probably linebacker, then wide receiver.
All right, if you're listening to us on YouTube, that's a wrap. But if you're listening to us on the podcast, the traditional format, if you will, or we'll step aside for a minute, and then we'll have Michael Langston and Tom Lang.
Well, hey, I want to talk about the commitment.
Oh, do you want to? Okay, all right.
I mean, a little bit.
Right,
yeah,
sure,
a little
sure.
bit.
Landen Thomas, tight end, originally committed to the University of Georgia, the two-time defending reigning national champions from Colquitt County, Moultrie, Georgia, flipped to Florida State early on Tuesday morning. Shout out to our Michael Langston for schlepping up there to Moultrie and getting an interview with him.
He was up there bright and early with him. That was big time.
I mean, we don't have him as a 4-star, but which is weird, he's a consensus 5-star despite the fact that there's 4 networks and only one of them has rated him as a 5-star. But whatever, you'll take it. You're a Florida State fan. You want to prop everything up you can. 6'4", 238. I don't want to step on your toes here, Cor, but just I feel like you probably want to talk about the fact that you just went and got a kid from a really storied program in Georgia and just nabbed them away from the reigning national champions. It's a long way away from some of the players you were getting in previous classes. We talked about this team not wanting to act like they've arrived. They haven't. They've performed really well. They've practiced really hard. This coaching staff, though, might have arrived at the right sort of fishing holes when it comes to getting talent.
Well, look, man, I think, number one, as a Georgia grad, I think Landen Thomas is a Benedict Arnold. I think he's a traitor. I can't believe he turned his back on Kirby like that. No. Look, the biggest thing in that, well, I really wanted to talk about, it's not about going to Colquitt County. I think the biggest question mark we've had about Norvell, clearly, is on the recruiting front. Can he recruit with the big boys?
High school kids, namely.
Yes. Yeah, but the portal, he's answered that wholeheartedly. It's this. And that is a really big get, man. Again, I'll couch everything. It's April. We still got 8 months until this kid can sign on the dotted line, and who knows anymore how this stuff works. But if this holds true, getting the number, and whatever he's a 5-star or 4-star, he's the number 1 tight end in the country.
Yes, number 5 prospect in Georgia, number 20 overall prospect in the country.
I mean, that's really good stuff, man.
Yeah.
And look, Norvell didn't go to Atlanta and get him. He didn't go to North Georgia and get this kid. Moultrie is much closer to Tallahassee than it is Athens. But still, you weren't getting any of these guys 3 years ago. You wouldn't even get – I'm not sure that last year at this time a Landen Thomas would – and I know they have a history with him, but a Landen Thomas caliber kid that was committed to the national champions would even visit. And now you got him to flip and commit to you. It's just, again, that's a really good sign. And, you're starting to feel kind of a groundswell, like a lot of momentum going that, okay, we've proven what we can do in the portal. We've proven we can win 10 games. We do have some collectives to really help. Is this starting to turn into the machine we want it to be when it comes to recruiting? Like that's a big get, man. Landen Thomas is a big get. And right now I think they're number 5. Yeah, they're number 5 in the On3 recruiting rankings as a team, and that's that's about where Florida State has always hovered when they were good, right around that top 5 area. So again, it's April. You want to be top 5 in December, but that's a really big that's big news, man. And it's cool that you can recruit against and beat a national champion for the services of a position where they use a lot too. So yeah, man, I thought that was that is a very good sign, because if we want this thing to be built the right way for a long time, these are the guys that do it. Redshirt sophomore Landen Thomas could be a dynamo, or maybe a true sophomore. I don't know. He probably won't redshirt. His second year, he could be one. Who knows? He could be one of the best tight ends you can develop these guys. Then they beget other guys, because you haven't just shown that you can bring in the 1 or 2 year wonders from other schools and make them and have them produce. You can develop from within. The Patrick Paytons of the world. Hopefully Shaheem Brown. Hopefully Landen Thomas. Hopefully these other guys, Robert Scott. These guys that you developed that can go along and have good college careers and maybe get drafted. That begets other guys that want to come to your school right away out of college. Out of high school. So yeah, it's a really big get, I thought, for Mike Norvell.
Yeah, man. On top of Cam Davis, who said he shut everything down. He's from Albany in some circles. So Luke Kromenhoek, he's out of Georgia.
Yeah, man. Raiding the state.
Yeah.
Raiding the Peach State.
Build that wall, Kirby, or else.
Norvell did. He did congratulate me on my engagement.
Nice.
After the and then he said we're not going to get any shirtless honeymoon pics, are we? And I said I'm not making that promise, buddy.
Yeah.
And I'm not, folks. I'm not.
All right, good. The dream's still alive. Man.
I still got to know your spray tan though. That's the thing with spray tans, Aslan. They last like 6 days.
Yeah.
I'm back to being pasty again.
Did it run on any of your clothes?
No, it ran on one of my pillows though, which is pretty gross.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, it was splotchy on my feet for a while. But now I'm back to pasty. Can't see my 6-pack anymore. It's tough, dude. It's tough.
All right. Well, a couple more crunches, some less carbs.
Yep, that's what it takes.
All right, that's a wrap if you're listening to us on YouTube. Again, we'll have a thread up on the Travel Council probably later today on Tuesday. We'll get a whole bunch of your questions, and we'll probably spread it out and do like 2 shows, like a Thursday, Friday type deal. So that's how it'll go. And we'll also sprinkle in anything that happens in the transfer portal, whether someone leaves or someone comes in here. So we'll have you folks updated. We promise. We promise. Thanks for listening to Wake Up Warchant, presented by the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill.